Hello everybody, it's Dana Sullivan, the Stampin' Chick, here with another Make It Monday! How are you today, my friends? I hope you had a fabulous weekend. Our weekend was really nice and cozy. The weather is warm and beautiful here in East Tennessee. And this week is about to get crazy busy because this is graduation week. And sadly, little Miss Ma'am is graduating on Saturday, and I'm gonna be all alone with no babies in the house anymore. Well, those of you who know, you know. So this is a bittersweet week for me. We're gonna be crazy busy with all kinds of graduation things. And, you know, I didn't even realize how much stuff goes on the week of graduation. We've got honors night tomorrow night. We have project graduation, graduation practice, etc., 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 etc. Anyway, we have a lot going on. So, hi everybody. Oh, I see some folks are coming in. Miss Sharon, Daryl, hi, how's it going? Oh, wow, we've got a lot of folks in here tonight. Fabulous! Everybody say hi. Give me some love, thumbs up if you like, and remember to share my video on your Facebook page because sharing is caring, and this one is going to be fabulous. Okay, guys, this project is not super simple, but it's not super difficult either. And as you can see, there's a lot of detail and dimension going on here. I am in love with this card. This is my jam. I'm not doing a super quick basic card tonight. I did that last week. This week, I'm going to show you how to just do all the little extra things that can make your cards really pop, right? Hi there, Alejandra. I hope I pronounced that right. So nice to see you. I'm seeing so many folks in here and I'm so excited. Okay, all right, so we are going to be using some brand new product for this project. And thankfully, I can show you the catalog now. So I'm just going to bring this out so that you can see. We're using the Abigail Rose product collection. So we're using the Cottage Rose Stampin' Die Bundle. We're using the Abigail Rose Designer Series paper. And we're using the Natural Finish 7/8 inch ribbon. And it is absolutely gorgeous, okay? This stuff is so pretty. First of all, the stamp set, absolutely gorgeous detailed flowers and leaves. And the sentiments are just perfect. I mean, they're absolutely out of this world. Amazing, right? And then the dies, there's a nice little collection of them. And this one right here actually cuts out different elements on one of the Designer Series papers. So I'll show you that too. Let me get the paper here so that you can see that. And I'm going to set our card off to the side for just a moment. We'll talk about it again here in a minute when we get started on it. Okay, this is the paper that, as you can see, I hate that I have to do this, but I had to cut these big flower clusters right out of the middle. Because the ones on the ends, they've got little sections chopped off. Now I can still use these for something, but when the image is a full focal piece, you want to make sure you have the whole thing, right? So if we were piecing a background, we could use all of these little partial pieces and just glue them around the edges of a piece of paper. We could make a really cool frame with these pieces here. So they won't go to waste. But we really needed a full image right there, okay? So as you can see right here, I've got this image on here. So these are the ones that I've cut out. And it's gorgeous. I'm going to use the rest of this paper. It's not going to go to waste. But I absolutely love it. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are chatting it up tonight. Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. All right, this is the back side of that paper. Really neat, a nice pattern. We're going to use a little bit of this petal pink striped paper on our card as well. And then on the back side of it, it's got this really pretty kind of monotone type paper. It's early espresso with very vanilla, so it's really nice. And this paper right here is another of our background layers, so you can see, and then it has this on the background. Now this is the one that I want to talk to you about, because all of these little flower pieces, they can be cut out with this deal. So let's see if I can find right here. There we go. Okay, so you gotta line it up just so. And you see that I can cut out the leaves, the little flowers. So this whole cluster comes out, and you'll cut out each of the little pieces when you do that. But it cuts all of those little pieces out so that you can do a little paper piecing type of thing on your card. So I will be doing a project with that very soon. But today's project is not about that. So I'm going to set this off to the side. I just wanted to let you guys know about that and make you aware, because I love when Stampin' Up! Has their dies coordinate with the designer series paper. It makes it so easy to cut, doesn't it? Okay, so a quick look through. There's that full sheet that we're cutting through tonight. And then here are a couple of more patterns in this paper pack. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, we've got this and the leaf pattern here. You know what? Let me see. I haven't had this very long, so I really haven't had much of a chance to play with it, but looky there. It does die cut the leaves. So that leaf stem die cuts with the die. That's pretty cool. I love that. Okay, so that's another one that can be used. Like I said, I love it when they do that. You guys like it too, right? The Zoomers are well represented. Yes, you guys are doing amazing tonight. Well done. Thank you all so much for being here. All right, and then this paper is really cool. It's got some more of the big clusters. And it's more of a sepia tone, so it's really nice. And then on the back side, there's this really soft, subtle background. So the paper is just absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I love this colorway. And, you know, when we're talking about the colorway, we're talking about petal pink, early espresso, crumb cake, very vanilla. And then, of course, with this one here, you've got smoky slate and basic black, too. So it's just so nice. It's got that really beautiful, shabby, rustic, like Victorian, beautiful stuff, right? Okay, so now back to the cards. Today's project is going to be featuring the Cottage Rose product suite. So for those of you who are just tuning in, Abigail Rose product suite, Cottage Rose Stampin' Die bundle. I will learn these. And then the ribbon, this natural ribbon, is so soft and it makes the prettiest bows. In fact, I'll just show you just a quick little bow. It's really nice. Super soft, and when I saw that it was so thick, or so wide rather, I thought maybe it would be a little bit stiff, but it is not. It is just absolutely gorgeous. So we'll just do this and give it a little boom boom, and look at that. A beautiful bow. I love it. I mean, it's just beautiful. Okay, we are using Very Vanilla for this card. So I have my Very Vanilla thick cardstock base. This is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4 to make a standard card base. I'll give that a nice little crease. Okay, and then I have, let me grab my pieces here. I have a piece of 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 inch of petal pink cardstock. This is going to be for the inside panel. Oh, you guys are watching together on Zoom. Oh, yay. Thank you so much. I'm all about a watch party. That's awesome. Okay, and then I have a piece of very vanilla cardstock that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. This will layer right over the top of that. And as you can see, I've already done a little bit of stamping because this may take a few minutes. You know, I don't really like the videos to run long, so I wanted to do a little bit of basic stuff ahead of time for us. So as you can see with this petal pink layer, I've already inked up the edges, and I'm going to show you how I do that, but it's very simple. And then with this layer of very vanilla, I've stamped the flower cluster, and then I used some of my Stampin' Blends markers to color it in. And what I'm using are the light and dark petal pink, the light mossy meadow, and the dark crumb cake. All right, so that's what I'm using for my flowers. And then for the big cluster, I'm also using the light crumb cake just to kind of fill in the spaces and tone down the brightness, the stark part of the very vanilla. Okay, so light petal pink with little bits of dark petal pink around the bases of the petals, and then the mossy meadow for the leaves, and then the crumb cake to just color these little sprig clusters here. Hi, Miss Elaine, how are you? Okay, so that is the inside, and I'll go ahead and glue that since I've got it right there, and that way it's just out of the way, right? So we'll go ahead and put that petal pink layer in first. And like I said, this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. You can see it leaves just a nice little 1/8 of an inch border here. It's actually a 1/16 inch on each side. And then the 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch very vanilla to just layer really nice here. And all I'm wanting that petal pink for is just a little pop of color. Come here now. There you go. Just a little pop of color there, okay? All right, now that we've got the inside done, I'll go ahead and set that out of the way and bring in the next pieces. Now, I have another piece of petal pink cardstock. This one measures 4 inches by 5 1/8 inch, and we'll distress this one. And then I have a piece of the Designer Series paper that measures 3 7/8 inch by 5 inch. So it's going to stagger like this. And then I have a little strip that is almost 2 inches and by 5 inches. And this one I had started to tear, and I thought, you know what, I'll wait. But I'm going to tear this and then attach it right here. So you can see it's right here. And it's so funny how these little things, these little elements just really make all the difference in the world with our projects, right? So we're just going to take this paper and I'm just tearing it. I want to get that nice little torn edge here, and you can play with it until it looks how you want it to. And then I've got these two pieces here, and we want to ink up all of these edges. So I'm going to use the Early Espresso ink, and I'm using a sponge dauber. Now, the difference between using a sponge dauber and the blending brush, for example, is that the sponge dauber is perfect for doing edges, and it gives you a richer, more bold color, where the blending brushes are going to give you a really soft and smooth coverage, okay? So if you're wanting to know what's the difference between the two, that's definitely it. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and ink this up. And we don't have to worry about being really careful. I want this to look grungy. I don't want it to look uniform, so I'm just gonna kind of blot it on, so to speak. Okay, we just want to give the edges some distress here. And I'll set that piece off to the side and work on each of the other pieces. Try to go along rather quickly and just marking them up a little bit, right? And it's amazing how much of a difference, I mean, just looking at this piece versus, you know, the piece that we put in there, it really makes a huge difference, and it gives a really nice finished look to have ink on the edges of your paper. It just makes a totally different feel to your paper. Okay, there we go. We've got that one, and then the last one. So here we go. Here's the solid without any ink to it, and then just the difference it makes having a little bit of ink around the edges. It's pretty neat. So let me see if I can grab this white background here and we can see it better. There we go. So you can see we've got some color here and then not. It just makes a huge difference. I'm always in awe about how neat it looks when you add little pops of color here and there. Now, another thing that you could do, I'm using Early Espresso because Early Espresso is one of the colors in the collection, and it's going to help draw some of that antique look. But I could also do Petal Pink and make it just a little shade darker of the same color, and it would give it a totally different effect. So that's really cool too. Okay, now I want to go ahead and attach this piece to this piece before I rough it up, just because I only want to rough one time. So I'm going to put my Stampin' seal here on the back of it. Here we go. And I'm right-handed, so I've got to turn this to the left side. That makes total sense, doesn't it? Okay, line it up. There we go. See how cool that is? Oh, that's so neat. Alright, now there are a ton of different ways to rough up your edges, but honestly and truly, I like to grab my scissors and I just like this, right along the edges of it. And then if we need to, and we might, we'll touch up the edges a little bit more with the sponge. Okay, I want to curl my corner here just a little bit so it's not so stiff. There we go. You can use your fingernail if you want, but I hate the way it feels on my fingernails. It feels like it thins my nails and tears them up, so I'd rather use the scissors for it instead. There we go. There's also a really cool little shredder type paper shredder tool, but the scissors are always handy and it's just as easy. Okay, here we go. We're just roughing up the edges, giving it a nice distressed look. Okay, and it's just another one of those little details that we're adding to give it a nice texture. Okay, and it really does make all the difference. I mean, I can't stress how much difference it makes by doing these little things. You know, it's so neat. This is the wonderful thing about paper crafting, I think. Okay, now, let me get these shreds and scraps off of here and give it a good little wipe down here so that I don't get this stuff everywhere. There we go. Pick those off because we don't want them. Alright. Now then, I'm going to just go along and with my fingers kind of rough it up a little bit more. I'm really distressing the edges here because I want it to have a nice shabby look to it. So we're trying to age our paper in the course of a few minutes. So feel free to take your time here. I won't, because I've got all you guys watching me, and I want to get to the other stuff too, but this is really therapeutic time. So just take your time and play with the paper and rough it up. And it's okay if you bend it and crinkle it. I mean, you're distressing it, so that's perfectly okay. All right, and I really, really like the look of the corners being rolled in just a bit. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of a roll. And I'm giving it a little more of a dramatic roll than I necessarily want, because when I tape it down, I can always adjust it back a little bit. So I'll give it a little more drama there, and then I'll rein it back in once I get it layered together, right? Okay. Now then, I have these pieces, and the original card, I have also inked up the front of the card base. Shirley says she used to do similar by burning. Yes, yes, and that is so much fun too, especially if you're kind of a little pyromaniac, right? Yes, lots of fun. There are so many different ways to do it, really and truly. Another thing that I really liked doing is taking vanilla cardstock and put it in a little tray and dump a little bit of coffee grounds and some hot water in it, or take a tea bag, like I've made myself a nice cup of hot tea, and then take the tea bag and just set it right on top of the paper and move it around and stain the paper and give it the droplet marks and things like that. That's a really nice way to age the paper quickly, and it's a lot of fun. It's just very nice and relaxing to be able to do this artsy stuff sometimes. Now, it's not quick and simple, but I mean, it's simple, but it's just fun. All right, so now that we've got our card front ready here, I'm going to lay these on, and I'm not attaching them because I'm going to actually attach these together first. And the reason I'm attaching them together first is because we're going to be tying our ribbon around this piece before we attach it. So I just want it to be kind of cattywampus here. So I want it to be something like this. Okay, and we can just angle it. You just want to make sure that you're staying within the confines of your original card base, right? So I want it to be something like that. So I'm just going to take this and put some adhesive on just that layer for now. And I think it's going to line up somewhere in that area. So I like that. Okay, now that I still have this piece here and I can tie my ribbon and then attach it, okay? But I want to do something with the ribbon because the ribbon itself looks very clean, and it would be fine to put it together like this, as you could see, right? But I've aged my ribbon too, which is super fun. And I love that it's not so stark, and that's the big thing for me. So I'm going to show you how I did that. Once again, I'm bringing in my early espresso ink and my sponge dauber, and I'm just painting it directly onto the ribbon. This stuff is super cool. It takes ink really well, as you can tell, and I'm just gliding it along here. I'm paying extra attention to the edges, and trying just to not keep it uniform, right? So I want it to be richer in color in some spots and not so much in other spots. And I'm trying not to make the circular sponge spots, okay, if that makes sense. So as you can see, we're doing a fine job aging it right away. Super cool. And because we're going to be tying this ribbon into a knot, we're also going to have to do a little bit to the back side, but I don't have to do the whole thing. I can just focus more near the ends because we just need it to be where we tie the knot where it shows from, you know. So let me go ahead and yes, this is definitely a get dirty situation. You're not going to come out of it clean and unscathed in this particular activity. So we'll just add a little bit of color here part of the way up. There we go. I think that's pretty good. And then flip it around and do the same thing on this end. Okay, there we go. Isn't that cool? Now you could do all sorts of things with this ribbon. I mean, you could change the color entirely by using Stampin' blends, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite things about Stampin' blends. All right, let me grab a wet wipe here and get this off before I transfer the color to everything else. That would not be fun. Okay, here we go. I'm a little stained, but staining is fine as long as it doesn't come off, right? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. I'll just hang it right over here for a second. Let that dry for a hot second. And then I want to bring in my little piece that I've already cut from the paper. Now, this is just fussy cutting, so, you know, I know some people cringe and say, oh, fussy cutting, but it's not so bad. You know, I did most of it here. I'm just going to finish this up right quick. It's not so bad. It's actually kind of relaxing, you know, just take your time. Nice and easy. You want to leave a little bit of an edge around the image, and this is what's really important to give you a nice clean image. It's just to leave, you can see that tiny little border around it, right? So it just helps it to look smooth, and even when your cuts aren't clean and smooth, it will give the look of it because you've left that little border. So it's kind of a cheat way to make your work look nice and clean, right? Okay, and see, that was pretty quick. I mean, obviously I already had part of it done, but the section that I had left, it went really quick. So nice and easy. And then we'll want to color it. I'm going to bring in my little scrap paper here, and I didn't color it because I wanted to show you, just in case you hadn't seen or didn't know, I wanted to show you how I'm coloring my stuff here. I am absolutely not what I would consider an artist by any means in the regard of being able to color incredible coloring. I don't have fabulous coloring skills. I'm a very basic colorer. So, and I think that sometimes we get a little overwhelmed and think when we see some of these beautiful projects that we have to be able to know how to highlight and shade immaculately, and it's just not true. It's just not true. If it was, I wouldn't be able to color anything because I am so not one of those fabulous coloring people. Like Patty Bennett is absolutely amazing. You know, Jay, absolutely amazing. There's a couple of other demos that just do amazing work with the blends. That's not me. I love it, and I truly appreciate and admire watching them do it, but it's just not me. I'm a lazy stamper. I want to just color it and get it done, and I don't always know all the places to do the highlights and the shadows and, you know, all that stuff. So here I am. I'm just coloring with the same single color over the whole thing, and then I'm going to go back and I will add some shadow with the same color. I know, crazy, right? So look, I'm going back to this first leaf, and I'm just following the lines that are already on it from the stamp, okay? And I'm just kind of sticking close to the back here because I assume that a leaf is always lighter towards the tips. And so when you think about something, you think about where the light is hitting it. And I'm going to assume that the light is hitting it towards the edges because the flower petals are covering the leaves, right? And you can see I just used the same single color. I'm going right along the veins and just kind of cruising out just a little bit. See? I mean, I am not doing anything fancy here. Nothing fancy at all about this, right? So pretty. Okay, and there we have our dimension and texture. Good to go. Okay, let me get this colored here. And I'll just do a little bit more here. I'm going to pick it up just a bit. So anyway, you get the idea. Nice and easy. Take this time to enjoy the process. You know, it's not just about getting the card done as quick as we can. Sometimes it's just about taking a breath and relaxing, enjoying the process, having a good time. Maybe you're playing a little Bryan Adams on the radio, you know, Bon Jovi, or if you like country or whatever you like, whatever your music is, play a little music in the background and just take your time. Just have fun with it and pretend like you don't have 500 bills waiting on you at the course of the month and all the other obligations that life throws at you. Just enjoy the moment. I'm going to try not to put you to sleep with my restful talking. Okay, here I am, just as I said, coloring across the leaves. Nothing spectacular here. I'll come back and I'll do a little touching up. Oh, I missed some there too, even, see? So, not at all a fabulous colorer. There we go with some of our shading. Nice and easy here. I am not fretting. And specifically because this is homemade and I'm doing my best, right? Okay. And I'm having fun, which is what it's all about. It's all about having fun. If you are so stressed that you don't even try something, then it's no longer fun, is it? And we don't want that. We want it to be fun. We want everybody to have a good time. Okay. Hi there. I see some more folks have come in. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'd love for you to share my video with your friends so that everyone else can join in too. I know there's a Zoom group watching and I appreciate that. That's so exciting. I love it. All right, here we go. And then one more leaf here. Now, I will tell you that when I colored the first one earlier, I got the flowers finished and then I found there were a couple of little stems that I missed. And I think I probably did that again this time. And that's okay. I can go back and pick it up again and do it all over. It's fine. If I miss it, I can just go back. No worries. Okay, we're going to do this little bit right here, and there's one there, and one there, and goodness, one there, and that may have been where I missed earlier. Okay, leaves are good. All right, now for the flowers, I am super basic, y'all. Okay, I'm taking that light petal pink, and I'm just coloring it. I'm scribbling like a kindergartner, you know? I'm not, I am not doing anything special here, except that I'm trying to stay within the lines of the outer edges of the flower there, you know. I'm not trying to go all crazy, but I'm not really worrying too much about where my color is going just now. Right now, I'm just trying to get color on all of the petals, and so I'm just going to do that first. There we go. And then I'm going to come back in with the darker petal pink, and I'm going to add some dimension to it, okay? So I'm going to swirl a little in the inside there, and then I'm just going to flick my way out. So I'm going from the inside and flicking out. So flick, 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 flick. When it comes to this sort of thing, I like to follow where the lines are from the stamped image, but you know what? You don't have to. It's up to you. You know what? This is your flower. If you want to make it rainbow striped, you can. Okay, there we go. And we're going to let that sit and dry for just a minute, and we'll move on to the next one. So again, I'm just going to scribble, scribble, scribble. This is about the easiest way you can ever color, right? Scribble, scribble. Do I have any super fabulous alcohol blends coloring people in the group tonight? You guys are probably cringing right now. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but this is for everyone else who aspires to be as amazing at coloring as you guys are. Okay, now I've got my basic there, and I'm going to do my center again, and then flick, flick, flick. Real simple. Now, you know, normally I wouldn't make you sit through me coloring things. Normally I would already have it colored, but this is so quick and easy, isn't it? Okay, now with this one, because I wanted to have a little bit of extra texture. Oh, Shirley can't scribble it. I'm so sorry, darling. I'm so sorry. I don't want to make you cringe or anything. Okay, with this one, I wanted to make it a little bit darker. So again, I'm going to do the scribble scribble thing, but I'm starting out with the dark petal pink. And just like I did with the leaves, I'm going to use the dark petal pink as the highlighter, darkener, shadower, whatever you want to call it, okay? So I'm coloring the whole thing in with dark petal pink first, okay? Color that whole flower. And the trick is to let it dry just slightly before you add the next layer, okay? So while that's kind of drying a little, I'm going to take my light again, and I'm going to come up here and color these little flowers. Oh, see, there's a couple of stems I missed. I knew I would. That's okay. Get the light color there. Okay, now then, I'm going to bring that dark color back in, and I'm going to focus on the middle like I did before, and then flick, 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 just like I did before. And you can see that there's just the slightest hue of color from where it's tone on tone. Okay, now, you know, I have watched Miss Patty, and she might bring in Calypso coral and, you know, other things to really give it some detail. I'm not about that this time. Her stuff is absolutely stunning, but I'm not doing that this time. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to bring the pink back in, the light petal pink, and I'm just going to color these little flowers. This time we're really just trying to make something that is cute, that looks kind of shabby and vintage, and it doesn't have to have all of those exquisite details, okay? We're just trying to give it a little color here. Alright, so again, I'm coming along the little petals and just adding the color. I'm moving along pretty quickly here. I'm going to go back just a little bit and add a little of the darker on a couple of them. And then I'm going to grab the dark crumb cake, and I'm going to color the centers of the flowers as well as these little sprigs. Okay. All right. So now I've got the dark, and I'm using the bullet tip this time, and just kind of swipe, 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 right? Flick, flick. That's what I said. Flick, flick, flick. And you don't think so, but it really does add just a little bit. Once it's dry, it really starts to show the tones. So don't worry, just keep flicking. There we go. Flick, 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 flick. There we go. And then I'm gonna flick, flick, flick. Whoops, I'm gonna switch it around to the brush tip again, and I'm gonna flick again just a little bit right there to give it just a little more. Just a little more. There we go. Okay. And then the dark crumb cake for the centers of little flowers here. So we're keeping with that antique look Here we go. All right. Okay. And then while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to come back here and pick up these little stems. There we go. Okay. And then I want the brush tip for this one. Oh, thank you, Shirley. I appreciate it. She says it's very pretty. Thank you. I'm just actually swirling a little top on each of these little thingies here, little sprigs. Obviously, I'm not incredibly horticulturally educated, or I would know what they're called. All right, now we have these light spots in between here that are pretty stark, okay? And if we leave them that way, by the time we put it on here, they look really, really stark, all right? So I'm gonna take this, and I'm using the light crumb cake now, and I'm just gonna come in and fill in these spots. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna help all of these other colors really pop. Okay, so it's going to make our flowers stand out more. It's going to make the stems stand out more. And we don't have to be super stringent with the detail here. We don't have to worry about that. And I'm not worried about the outer edges, because I'm going to take that sponge dauber and the espresso ink again, and I'm going to go around the edges of this one too, so that I can kind of distress this piece as well. All right, so I'm actually just using the crumb cake in the areas that the espresso ink might not hit. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. All right, I'm giving it just a little bit of color here, and you can see already the huge difference between how stark this is and this antique look, right? Are you able to see that okay? Okay, so that's why I'm doing that, because it really does make a difference. Remember, it's these little details in this particular project that really, really makes it. So a lot of times when you come to my channel and we're making cards and I talk about something being quick and easy to do, this one's easy, but I wouldn't necessarily say this one is super quick. This one's definitely hey, you know, think about the details sort of deal. All right, now because that's crumb cake also, I can kind of scribble over the top of it and it'll be okay. All right, that way we can get done quicker. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we have our colored piece here, and it's got all of its bits colored in. And I'm going to once again take the early espresso ink and my dauber, and I'm just going to focus on the edges. I'm not worried about going even, making the edges totally inked up. I'm just worried about covering up the outer edges and it not being stark on the edges. So I'm giving it just a bit of a distressed, antiqued look. Okay, here we go. So you can see it changing a little bit there. It's getting rid of all of that bold outline. We'll do a little touch there. Around these little sprigs is kind of touchy because they're so tiny. Okay, and it's okay if we bend them up a little bit, because we're going to bend them up a little anyway to distress them and really give them some body when we put them on the card. So I'm not going to worry about that too much either. I mean, this is kind of an easy peasy way of doing all of this. All right, here we go. So we're tapping. Now this part we want to be kind of careful about, because I've snipped in between the petals to give them more lift. I want more actual definition here, so I'm going to be careful not to rip my petals off. So I'm going to be really gentle about going around these leaves. Okay, there we go. But yet at the same time, we don't have to be super careful about it. We just need to be gentle. There we go. Bend that part up, makes it easier to get to that one. And look at the difference right there between this one and this one. There's huge difference. That's really cool. I think when I'm doing an antiqued or shabby type of project, I don't want to see anything stark. I want it all to be kind of softer edges, distressed, maybe a little bit stained looking. That's just maybe my preference, but I really enjoy that look. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay. All right. So, since I've got the chatty group in here tonight, I'd love to know what kind of projects you guys are working on right now. And who set up this Zoom watch party too, by the way. I want to thank you for that. That's very nice of you. Okay, there we go. All right, we've got the edges done, and I think that's nice. Okay, now then, I need to cut the label here. I had one cut and I accidentally smudged it with my finger. So I'm going to cut another one, and I'm actually using the All That dies because, you know, if you've been following me for a bit, you've heard me go on about how sad I am that Stampin' Up! Retired some of my favorite labels. And I was really sad about it, but then I saw these and thought, oh, okay, you know, Stampin' Up! Always takes care of us. They get rid of something and we go, oh, gasp, I can't believe they're doing that. And then inevitably they always give us something else that's just as cool. So I trust them. I just really missed my dies. But I'm using the All That dies, and I'm using this label right here. Andrea says, we're making cards and laughing a whole lot in our Zoom. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for that. That's very cool. Okay, let me grab a little scrap of very vanilla cardstock. And, you know, this is always the way. It's just that much too short. That much. That's okay. I'll turn it this way and waste all that crazy paper. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, I hope you girls will go in the Stampin' Chicks group and post pictures of the projects that you're working on. I'm sure everyone would love to see what you've got going on. Okay, so running this through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine here. All right. Put this away so that I have my space back. Oh, everybody's making cards. That's so much fun. I love it. That's why we're here, isn't it? Okay, now, I learned the hard way earlier, as I said, about doing the edges after I stamped the sentiment, because I put my finger in here. So this time I'm going to do it the right way. I'm taking the sponge dauber and the espresso ink again, and I'm just going to soften up these edges just like I've done all of the other things. And then once I have the edges inked up, I'm going to bring in some Mossy Meadow ink and one of those fabulous sentiments from the Cottage Rose stamp set. Okay. All right. So there I've got my edges inked. And now the Mossy Meadow, and I love this. You are positively the greatest. I think that's fabulous. All right. Tap, tap, tap. Not smush, smush, smush. And my Mossy Meadow ink sometimes kind of gets weird, so I really make sure I've got it inked up well. Okay. And then let me see if I can lean over here without getting my face in the screen. There we go. All right. Not too bad. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside for just a moment, and I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my card now that everything's had just a second to set up. All right, so I have my 2 panels here, and I'm going to take that ribbon, and I just want to make sure that the side that I didn't do the middle of is laying up against my card base, okay, or my cardstock. And then I'm going to tie this into a knot right up here near the top. Okay. And now, because I've colored both sides of the tails, I don't have to worry about anything showing naked because I've colored it all. Okay, let me scoot that over a little bit. There we go. Give it a nice little tug. All right. There we go. And I'm going to leave those tails on just for a moment. And honestly, I've thought about pulling the edges just to see what it would look like frayed, but maybe I'll leave it. I do kind of just like the bow. All right, I'm going to put this on dimensionals because I think that with all of these layers, it's just really cool because they're mostly flat, but I really want some lift and dimension on this card. And because I'm going to do the whole thing, I want to really make sure I've got the back covered. I don't want it to be saggy because we don't want a saggy card, right? So I'm going to really lay it up here with dimensionals. I know this kills me to put so many on it, but I don't want a saggy card. You don't want a saggy card. We don't want anything sagging, right? I mean, we're women, we can say this. We don't want anything sagging, especially our cards. Okay, if there are any fellas in the room, I do apologize for that moment, but you know what? We're real here. Okay, all right, now I'm going to go ahead and peel the backs off, which is the most boring part of this whole process. And because I've really laid them on thick, you've got a few to watch here, but that's okay. I'll be done in just a second. All right, there we go. Okay, now, always check to make sure of which direction your card is facing before you layer the front panel on. And then I want to turn this at a bit of an angle as well, but I still want to make sure that it fits within the confines of the card front. So I think we've accomplished that mission. And then for this piece, I'm going to kind of curl the leaves a little, curl and crinkle the corners or the points of them, so to speak, because I want them to be more dimensional, right? And so instead of being flat and plain like this, just by kinking up the points a little bit, it really gives it a bit more interest. So we're going all out on this card. We might as well not stop with a flat, or we might as well not stop with a flat panel here. We're going to bump it up. Hi, Miss Lynn from California. How are ya? All right, and then this one too. So all of the leaves, I'm just kind of kinking the corners of them a little, just to make them kind of pop. Now, some of these are going to be a little hard because, I mean, we could trim that if we wanted to, but I'm not going to go into all of that because I think this part's going to be kind of tucked under the ribbon anyway. So, but I just want it to have a little bit of volume to it. I'm going to curl these little tiny leaves a little. There we go. And as you can see, it just makes all the difference, doesn't it? These tiny little things, they really just make a world of difference. And it's not hard. None of this has been hard. It's just, it's taken a few minutes, right? So again, it's still a fairly easy project. It's just a little bit time consuming. Okay, so now then, I want to put this piece right about, let's see, right about here. Yeah, right like that, I think. Okay, now I'm going to put this down with Stampin' Seal because I want to pop my label up with dimensionals. And I like to follow a kind of 2-layer rule when it comes to dimension if it's a project that I'm going to be putting in the mail, because I don't want the project to get snagged. And this bow is already pretty bulky. In fact, I'm probably pushing it on the 1/4 of an inch thing with that knot. So if I can cinch it down just a bit more, I don't think that I can though. It's a pretty pretty thick ribbon, so I think that's as good as it's gonna get. But I don't want to add any more dimension than I have to at this point because I already have all of that bulk. Okay, and now for my sentiment piece, hoping that I don't have too much ink on my fingers, I'm going to go ahead and just add dimensions around this one. There we go. Was that a stamp or did you cut it out of the paper? Dawn, I actually had to fussy cut that one. I'll show it to you here in just a second. Let me pull this backing off. Okay, this image came from this sheet of designer series paper, and it's these images right here, and you have to fussy cut them. The only die, the biggest die rather, is this one right here, and it doesn't fit. I thought that maybe this cut a section of it out, but it doesn't. I've turned and twisted and turned and twisted, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit any of them. Well, wait a second. Oh my gosh, yes it does. Okay. Laugh at Dana. All right, so I noticed something. When this is the completed card here, and then when I was putting this flower on, it's slightly different, and I didn't realize that it was slightly different until I went to put it on here, but it is slightly different. So as it turns out, each of these flower clusters are a bit different. But I was turning it around and couldn't find anything, but it does in fact fit. Let's see, I don't think it fits that one, but it definitely fits this one right here. So just play with it, and you're looking for one of the images that has the big flower, the little sprigs, and then a couple of leaf stems. Okay, so that's what it will cut out. Let's see. Oh, that's funny. Let's see here. Yep, and there it is again on that one. Now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it, right? So once you see it, once you get it in there, yeah, there we go. Okay, so I can cut this one. I can cut this one. I think, well, maybe that's the only ones. Maybe that's the only one. So there's just a couple of them. Just a couple. But that's okay, because a couple is better than not. I know, Shirley, I know. Oh, goodness. Okay, so anyway, there's that. Let's get back to the card here. All right, so I have this on, and I've got the backing off of this piece, so I'm going to go ahead and put it down now, and I'm just going to put it right here. And even still, I think I kind of smudged it a little bit, but we're going to go with it anyways because it's rustic. And you know what? It's just the way of it. Okay, so now that we've got that, and I am going to trim those ends a little bit because this one is really wild. I'm not really sure what's going on there. So we're going to trim this just a little. There we go. And let me trim that one too because it's kind of crazy also. There we go. And it actually looked pretty good with the ruffled frayed stuff on there, so there you go. All right, leaving that alone because I will pick at bows. I don't know if you're that way too, but I will pick and pick and pick at a bow until I have to undo it and then redo it again, which is crazy, isn't it? Okay, so now that we've got that, all right, the finishing touches here, the final things left to do is to put some of the genial gems on. And, you know, I had pulled out the rustic, what are those, rustic metallic dots? Yeah, these ones, and they would look really cute too. But I thought that if I did that, it was just a little bit more industrial. I don't know. Let's try it and see. Why not? We'll do them a little bit different. It's okay. Okay, let me put one here. Oh, but yes, that did look good. It did look good. Okay, well, there we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's nice, too. All right, so there you have it. Super, super cute. I really like all of this texture. Like, the texture is massively huge for me. It is fabulous. My favorite thing ever. Okay, so there we go. Oh, and then I used a little bit of Wink of Stella right inside the middles of the flowers, of course, just to give them a little something something, right? Just a little. There we go. Because they were a little bit drab. Now you could put some sparkles inside of them too, and that'd be very pretty. And we'll put a little flick, flick, flick on the little ones here. Yeah, flick, flick. Okay. Flick, flick, flick. Super cool. You can also use your Wink of Stella to spread color as well. I'm sure you knew that, but that's a fun little trick to do with the Wink of Stella. There we go. And then maybe we'll put a little flick, flick here too on those little things. What are those little sprigs anyway? Does anybody know what those things are called? Little sprigs. That works. Okay. Yes, lots and lots of details on this card, Miss Deborah. You are absolutely right. All right, friends, there you have it. Now, for the envelope, because you guys always know, I always say no naked insides and no naked envelopes. So I had already shown you the inside, and then for the envelope, I like to just carry over the same kind of thing from the inside to the envelope because it just really helps it to matchy match. So I have that same flower cluster that I did here and then here. Just remember when you're using Stampin' Blends on envelopes that the blends bleed through. So on the flap, I really don't care if it bleeds through, but I don't want it to bleed all the way through my envelope. So I always keep a scratch piece of copy paper with me, and I just tuck it inside the envelope before I color, and that way when I color and I let it dry, and then I can pull it out, and this soaks up any of the excess color so it doesn't bleed through. Okay. All right, friends, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this project. I really enjoyed having you all with me this evening. I hope that you will visit again next Monday. And yeah, so anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And until next time, my friends, have a wonderful day. Bye for now.